Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you saw in our last video, we were plumbing the turbo kit and getting everything on there. We have finished that. We'll show you that here in just a moment. I still have one wastegate left to put on there and then a little bit other things, but what we're going to be tackling today is our fuel system. We got everything for our fuel system in, and we're going to be plumbing that and want to show you guys exactly what we're going to be using. We had gotten in the other day. This is our new Aeromotive fuel pump, and we actually were going to be running a 25 gallon per minute pump, but between myself and Dad, we fat fingered something and we got a 32 gallon per minute pump. Oops. So that's gonna be fine. We have more than enough, but what we had to do is we were going to be using our Weldon 12 gallon per minute regulator. That no longer will be enough. So I've been down here early this morning and got the new Aeromotive regulator, which will actually flow quite a bit more for the return side. So basically, we're never gonna have to worry about running out of fuel with this thing. This will take place of the fuel pump we had last year, right, driven off of the camshaft in the front. We will be running a 16 feed, which is gonna go right there. And then we will have a 12Y, and then that's gonna go up to our fuel rails. Everything this year for our fuel system is going to be a crimp fitting that is going to be PTFE on the inside, and that is to make sure that we don't have any rubber breakdown or anything going through injectors and such there. So what exactly does all of this mean? Well, how does the fuel system work? Well, you're going to have a fuel pump that is going to be able to push X amount up through your rails to your regulator and back. You have to have a regulator that is going to be able to flow enough fuel going back to push the excess fuel back into the tank. So if your engine is consuming, say, 10 gallons per minute, and your fuel pump is pushing 20 gallons per minute, you need to have a regulator that is going to be able to return a minimum of 10 gallons per minute, because that is going to be the excess that is not being used. So the math on our engine is going to be in that 16 to 18 gallons per minute range. Now, if we take and have a 32 on there, we would have to have, say it was 16, we would have to have something that can flow for a regulator of 16 gallons per minute back. Obviously, a 12 gallon per minute will not be enough having a 32. That is why we have the new Aeromotive big boy regulator here that we will be getting set up. So I'm gonna go ahead, assemble the fuel pump, some of the stuff here, and we're gonna get the regulator mounted. Then we're gonna show you kind of how the routing is going to look on there and kind of walk you through what it takes to do some of these crimp fittings in the crimper you see right here. Over on the car, we have the fuel pump on, and this is going to be our distribution coming up here. So we have a 16 outlet, and this is coming to a dual 12. And this is going to then split off and feed the rails. Right now, what we're trying to figure out is, do we want to take this and feed it so it's going to come up right into the front here, and then we're going to loop it back up and forward to the regulator, or we want to bring it up and have it go to the rear, come back, and then down that way. So we're taking a look at different ideas with our regulator here, with the fittings that we're going to be running, the fittings that we have, and see what we can make work. Have to make sure that everything is going to fit in here and not get in the way of anything else. So we're going to go ahead, take a look at this, and once we figure out exactly how we're going to run these lines, we're going to show you guys exactly what we came up with and why we went that way. So we have some of the plumbing already started and got everything mounted. You see, we have the Y here coming off of our fuel pump, and we got our regulator mounted down here. We've also got a Brodix walking around in the shop. Our return lines are actually going to be coming from the front of the rail down to the regulator, and from the regulator back to the tank, and these are actually going to feed up into the rear coming forward that way. But everything is turning out really nice. It's clean. And everything's going to be very, safe, and we're not going to have anything that's going to deteriorate in this. And that's kind of the whole idea of running these type of lines. Now, the one thing that we do have to watch out for when we make these lines is they do not swivel. So when you go to make a line like this, you have to have the angle on there correct. Otherwise, that whole line is going to be pretty much junk. So as I was saying, here is coming from the fuel pump up, and this is going to Y off. There you go, it's going to come up and follow the rail all the way down to the fitting that's facing backwards right now, right there. So that's going to feed up, down, all of our injectors, down to the regulator and back. That's kind of the setup right now. It does take a little while to get all of this kind of figured out and lay all your fittings out. You see right there, that is the fittings that are crimped. Look like that once they get all crimped on and everything is good. And I will show you exactly how those crimp fittings work and what you have to do to them. You have to take some measurements before and after and just double check everything to make sure that they are actually getting the right amount of crimp on there and you don't end up blowing off lines. Over here at the bench, this is going to be our fitting that we're going to put on. This is going to be on the driver's side at the back of the fuel rail. And this is going to be our line. Now I like to make everything, I keep the line all together here, just because it's expensive to cut and everything. But you will take your crimp collar, it's going to go over it, and then you have to get your fitting on. Now I like to take and just open it back up because you have the poly in there. These crimp collars are meant to go all the way up to right there, this ledge. So you need to make sure you get all of your line up to here and make sure you put your crimp collar on first so that way it can come up and over like that. So what we're doing is we're using a hydraulic crimp and we're going to be cinching it down onto that collar. And put your hose up in. There we have it, we have that crimp. Now we're gonna go put this over onto the car at the rear. That way we can get our length of the hose to the fitting and then make our marks, cut it, and then we also need to make sure we put it at the correct angle for when we do crimp it.
We about to turn it on.
All right, morning. Well, we're back and we got the fuel cell out. We got all the lines made under the hood. Still need to go ahead and we're gonna make the line from the fuel cell up to the fuel pump, but I want to take the fuel cell out and get the last bits done on this. What I need to do right now is we have to put a return line on there and we need to put a vent line on. We're going to be running a number 12 return and we usually run like a number 6 vent line. Now the vent line is going to go up on top here and we usually will weld the fitting on. We use a 180-degree fitting, hose end like that. We'll make a hose that comes down. It's going to connect to a check valve. Now this check valve is going to allow when fuel is removed out of here, sucked out for the engine, we don't have a vacuum and it's going to be able to put air back in there. But at the same time, if there's a rollover or a slosh, anything like that, it's going to stop fuel from coming out. So this is an important thing to have for safety, and usually I'll make like a little strap or something and kind of attach it to the side. We'll probably put it up over on the front over there. Might even put it on the slope down, something like that, make it look neat. Now, as far as the return line going in for the number 12, you see I've got some tube here. I'm going to make a return where it's actually going to come in like this and then down into the bottom of the fuel cell. Now why am we doing that? Well, want it to go in and down like that so we don't cause aeration. We don't want to have it splashing and allowing air to kind of froth everything up in there and possibly suck in air going to the fuel pump. So I made a fitting. It was out of an old fitting. I put it on the lathe and then I blasted everything off of it. That was anodized. It was a black anodized deal. But I wanted to use this because it had the big hex here. So it was thicker so I could machine it for the tube to go in. And then I can weld it and I'll still have room to be able to have a ledge there to put it in and weld it to the fuel cell. So I'm going to go ahead, take some measurements, see what we need to do for cutting this, what angles we need, lengths, etc. We'll make this, drill some holes, get some stuff welded, and get this back on the car so we can plumb the return line and the pump feed line. Okay, so we got everything done here. Forgot to kind of video all of this and show you guys what everything turned out like, but whole fuel system completely done. It turned out really good. Actually right here, we even got the transmission back. Dad took that over and gave that a clean bill of health. So right here, we've got our overflow vent tube. So this has a check valve on here. When we take this off to do, we have to paint the frame and everything. We're actually gonna put a little strap deal so it mounts here and doesn't wiggle around. We have our return line right here coming from the regulator there. And as you saw, we were making the line that goes in and down. Let's see if we can maybe see that in here. Can we kind of see it in there? No? All right. Yep, we have the line in there, so we don't have the aeration that's going to happen. Fuel is coming from the tank up to our pump coming up to 16, splits into the 12s, goes down, feeds the rails, comes back down into there, boom, and then all over again. The rails are all done. Obviously you guys saw the intake manifold we built. The rails we had to match. We have our 220s and our 800s on there. I'm actually kind of thinking I might want to change those 220s to a set of AFIS injectors. They have a 225, and then it might just match and look better. But we're going to start it out with the 220s that we have on there and see how everything works from that. Other than that, I mean, the car's coming along really well. We still have to finish the wiring on the coils, everything here. The windshield just showed up. That's over here. And that's about it. So this weekend on Saturday, we are going to be tearing everything out of the car, getting it ready for paint. There's a train. And then Sunday, I'm actually going to be down at the GSTA Rod and Custom Show in Minneapolis. I'll be over in the BIR booth. We're going to be talking about some of the upcoming events that they have for this year, including the Street Outlaws No Prep Kings race coming in, the Muscle Car Series, the class that I teach there, that is the Intro to Drag Racing, and everything else that happens at that amazing facility. So, and until next time, guys, be safe out there.